Hi everyone, it's Cyrred from Montier, and this is my Murder of Dukes interview series. And tonight I have His Grace Cyrred of Ashwood from the Outlands. Welcome, Your Grace.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Happy to be part of this. This is a great series that you're doing.
Well, thank you. I'm very happy to have you. I've heard lots of good things about you from your night. So I don't know how many of these you've seen, but we usually start them with your origin story. So if you want to tell us how, where, when you found the SCA, that would be great.
So I'd say the first SCA event was Memorial Weekend of 1989 at the Grand Outlandish in Alberon, where I currently live. And I think from then on, that was it. I probably was in armor by June of that year. It didn't take long once I saw it, and it was just game on, totally game on.
Cool. So who introduced you to Great Outlandish? Did a friend take you or?
Well, I played Amp Guard back before that, and a gang of friends. We were all friends with the Black Duke back then, with Johan, and with his younger brother Turan, who Turan was a big factor in me getting in armor. I spent time in his dad's garage pounding out my armor, my first set of armor, and that's where I really got started. Was Turan, a lost friend.
Did you have an interest in like medieval stuff beforehand?
Oh yeah, I loved it. I loved Excalibur. I loved watching movies like that. I always built plywood weapons in the backyard when I was little. Always loved it. And then once, after playing Outguard and kind of the whole fantasy part of it wore off for me a little bit, then I was introduced to the SCA. And I think one of the most epic fights that I saw at that first event was Tamiki and Guy fighting in like a final round of this tournament. And it was one of the most amazing things that I've seen in my life. And I was like, yeah, here we go. Oh, it's on. I'm doing that for sure.
I can imagine Tamiki and Guy back in the day. That would have been epic.
Yeah.
So did you get to fight at Outlandish?
That year, no.
No.
I was still too new to it, and not. I wasn't ready. There wasn't gear to borrow or whatever, and we were pretty inebriated that entire weekend, so probably wasn't a good idea to even try it at that point. But the stuff that I saw made me like really kind of go home back to El Paso, the Citadel of the Southern Pass here in the Outlands, and really dig into that. And hey, Turan, hey, Johan, show me what's up with this. And that's really the whole Nap family got me into this game. Totally.
Super cool. So they armored you up and took you to practice?
Yeah. They toted me around the whole kingdom for years and years and years.
Wow.
And me, I was just a young skateboarder that they like. I don't know. They took a liking to me, I guess, and off we went and shared a lot of adventures. And yeah, what great times.
Did you start out sword and shield?
I tried it at first, and really the shield wasn't my deal. I didn't like it, and I had seen sometime before that some of the SCA guys in El Paso fighting with a Modu, and that weapon style kind of really turned me on because I'm 6'3" and 175 pounds. And so there's not a whole lot of beef to push people around and kind of do that shield on shield kind of contact where I could dance around and use this as like a left jab and really kind of use range and kind of play that skinny light guy kind of game. And that's that. And after I started that, it took me through pretty much all the crown tournaments that I won. And that was my style of choice for years and years and years for tournaments. And then I don't know, maybe 15 to 18 years into the game, I picked up a heater again and really started to kind of dig into like, okay, well, let's go back to square one and learn the corners and learn this shield and learn how to do this. And then I fell in love with it. Now it's pretty much salsa and shield for me. When I fight, it's been forever.
Yeah. Did you have other mentors besides Johann and his brother?
Absolutely. Sir Rutner, and he was the Baron of the Citadel when I started playing the game, and really kind of a genius coach. He could see everything that I was doing wrong. He's like, you know what, if you just do this with your feet, maybe just try this, maybe circle this way instead of that way. You know, everything that he said, no matter how crazy I thought it was, like, oh, dude, you're losing your mind. Now I'm going to step into this big left-handed guy and get clubbed. And what he said worked. And so after that, every time Rutner said something, I automatically tried it. I always give like the credit for my right hand and what I can do with that big long wrap. I got that from the black dude for sure. And all of the kind of footwork and timing stuff that I got from Rutner, he was a boxer back in his early days, and he fought with a Modu also, and could really get in there and just get you good with that top spike, just that left hook coming in. He could just really deliver it. And I keep trying to do it in the camera, and it's backwards from what I'm seeing, so I'm looking like doing it left-handed. So, yeah, Rutner taught me a lot about like where my feet were, what my stance was, because then I kind of transferred into, like, instead of standing right foot forward in a normal stance, I started just going goofy foot, what a skateboarder calls goofy foot, with my right foot in front. And it made it so much easier for me to reach. I had 3 feet going this way and 3 feet of sword. So I could reach both if I was standing goofy foot. And so I could do a whole lot more if I was standing that way. And Rutner kind of was one of the ones that he said, like, ride that skateboard backwards.
Yeah. You got good really fast. What kind of practice and training were you doing at that time?
That's a good one. That's like the most important part. And I'm happy that you asked that. Pell practice, kids. I spent so much time. I had an engine stand, like for an engine pool, with 2 tires hanging, and there was a 7.5 foot stick going this way and a 6 foot stick going this way, and they hung independently of each other, kind of where they'd swivel like that, and it wouldn't come real fast, but there was something moving at you all the time, and so it made you mind your defense while you're working on elementary this and that. And I did that at least half an hour a day when I was training for crowns. And a lot of times it would be 3 times that, because I'd do a session out there in the Pell on a hot summer day in El Paso, Texas, go in and cool off and be like, I want to try this now, and go back out there. And I had very specific lines painted on the tires. And there was also little holes cut out where I could harvest pecans from the neighbor's pecan tree and stick nuts in the Pell and try to break a nut with every stroke. And it got to a point where, like, after months and months and all the Pell practice that I did, I think really, really pushed me through the crowns that I won because of the repetition and fine target on something that's swinging and moving back at you.
I love the nutcracker. That's really cool, because it gives you like something to play with, right? It makes Pell work fun.
Yeah, and it takes time to reset it. There was only, I think it held 6 at that point, but there was like 1 on each shoulder. There was 1 on the ribs, and then there was down here on the legs. And if you could, like, hit it just right, if you missed it, the nut would fall out and not be broken. And if you hit it just right, then the Rottweiler boxer mix that I had would come and clean up the mess and let me reset everything. Nice. But yeah, there was countless hours of Pell practice. And then also, like, where we lived in the Citadel, we were the farthest south barony in the Outlands, and the Outlands goes now all the way up to what, Nebraska, and we had to travel 4 hours to come to Alabama. So like to get any, like you fight the same 6 guys for 2 months straight, you're not going to learn a whole bunch more, and we had to travel. And again, like Monica and Jochen and Johan, and they all just piled me in the car and took me to coronation, took me to crown tournament, took me to like events when I was that young guy. But yeah, we had to totally travel, and like that was one of my things also, is you have to go find the guys that are better than you. You have to go find some depth besides the guys that you fight all the time. Travel up to Colorado and fight them for a little bit, and then learn what you learn from them and bring that back home and see how you do against your guys back home. And so yeah, it was like just as much time possible with the stick in my hand, I think, is what it was back then. And I was 21 years old when I was really, really in the thick of like, okay, here we go. I'm gonna get after that.
At the time, who were the best Modu fighters in your kingdom?
Jeez, there wasn't a whole bunch. Haroon did it, and Haroon was fair at it. Johan, when he decided to, was a very formidable Modu fighter. Rutner, of course, and like I think Rutner hit me harder than anybody ever with a top spike in the ribs. And after that, there was always like a big like, oh no way, dude, when I fought him. Assad was like this sneaky old Modu guy, and like he would whistle and dance around and then just stab you in the leg, kind of like. There wasn't a whole bunch of them back when I started, and then it started getting bigger. It certainly did, but I think those would be the main ones.
So when I look at the order of precedence and talking to you, it looks like you found the SCA in 89, and then you won crown in like 91 or 92.
April 5th of 92.
Okay. So that's super fast. I mean, even back then, I think that's pretty fast, right?
It was fast. It was like all that practice, and I fought 3 times a week if I could back then. Whoever would put armor on armor, let's go fight. And otherwise, I'm out there whacking the tires in the backyard. But yeah, I chased after it pretty fast. And Morgana, of course, my queen both times. She one day we were hanging out, drinking a beer, and she said, "Sir, you're a pretty good fighter. Why don't you make me queen?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, and you're pretty good at all this organizing stuff and the rest of that part of it. So yeah, game on." And then yeah, sure enough, I think the first one I didn't feel like I was going to do as well as I did, and then I walked away from one fight that was really hard, and I was like, okay, who's left? And they, this is the final, dude. This is it. This is game on.
How many crowns did you fight in before you won your first one?
I won my first one.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, scary for a 23-year-old young man. Like, okay, well, now you've done it.
So Morgana, like, she had your back, like she knew that side of the stuff. What was your sort of understanding of like what crown was and what it meant to be king before you won?
Well, I got to watch Johan do it. I was, like I wasn't a squire at that point, but I was definitely like a man at arms, or like the dudes of weaponry, as we called ourselves back in the day. But yeah, I really was kind of in on a lot of that. And they kind of, I think they taught me kind of what was going on. They made it possible that, okay, well, here, if we want you to go be over here and do this right now, oh well, guess what? I just walked away from that a little bit smarter. And so I had been also on the Queen's Guard in Olaf and Jean. Olaf the First and Jean. I was on that Queen's Guard also, and a baronial officer quite a bit in the Citadel. I did an arts and science office in there. I was the night marshal there for a bit. So I was relatively educated on what was required, but I certainly learned a lot that first month.
I bet. Were you squire to Johann when you won your first crown, or did that come after?
No, that was before. That was so that first crown that I won was the 5th of April in '92, and I became Johann's squire after being man at arms for a bit. On January 18th. It's crazy that I remember both of those days so clearly, but my cousin's birthday is January 18th and my wife's birthday is April 5th. So I can easily remember those days, but that's how long I was Johann Squire. And boy, did I make a nice belt for myself. I told him, dude, I'll make my own belt. It's going to be so cool. And I back then I put about $60 worth of work into it.
Wow.
And it was all studded and cool and just like the coolest red belt that I'd ever seen. And then I won crown and immediately looked down at it. Like, I can't wear this right now. And so I walked off the field, immediately took off my squire's belt, rolled it up and kissed it goodbye for a little while and put on a brown belt and continued the rest of that crown tournament weekend with that brown belt on.
That's interesting because in different kingdoms deal with that in different ways. But you had been taught that because you were going to be the king or the crown prince, that you shouldn't be in direct fealty to Johann, so you put it away for while you were reigning.
I wouldn't say that I was taught that or even encouraged that, but to me that's what made the most sense, because very soon, a month from now, when I'm crowned king of the Outlands, that knight's going to be in fealty to me,
right? Not
the other way around. And so it was automatic, and that ended up really kind of being a tradition in our line of knights and squires, as my squire did the same thing when he won his first crown.
That's cool. I don't think a lot of people that early in have sort of an understanding of fealty that way, and it's really cool that that was just natural for you. That's cool. So what were these things that you learned in the first month? Like, what was, you said that you learned a lot in the first month.
So yeah, here you come as the unbelted king of the Outlands. And now it's time to have a belted circle, or a pelican circle, or a laurel circle. These were the three things that were like the most foreign to me, and I had to do it right away. The weekend of my coronation, and I kind of lost control of one of them for a little while, and they were arguing back and forth, and the queen squeezed my hand. She's like, dude, you gotta shut them up. Man, now you gotta shut them up. And so I handled it, and that right there was like, okay, cool. And there was, I'm not going to say which circle or anything, but there was a couple of times that I said something that didn't instill confidence in the peers, like miswording something and using afraid instead of concern. Right. And so I had those moments, and some of my heroes came up to me afterwards and, kind of behind the scenes, I got a little like, dude, you can't do that. You're the king, And so I learned quick, and the first reign was amazing. I think I hit my stride by the second month, and it was like, this is going to be a fun summer. And I was at home 2 weekends that whole reign, and one of those weekends was a holiday, I believe, the 4th of July, and the other was an event in town. So I did something every weekend but one that whole reign, and it was just amazing. We had the most fun, and we made so many friends.
What was your favorite part of your first reign?
We had some great times at Penzig. The Johann made Penzig amazing, and we've already heard that story, so I'm not going to revisit it. Um,
He
but
told some good stories.
oh yeah, and I just stirred that pot too when Johan was doing his interview and asked about that. But I'll move on from that to there was a field battle where they gave the 30-man Outlands unit the left flank and told us just haul ass and roll it over. And that's to us, that's Outlands, what we call Plan B. Plan A is around this way, Plan B is around the other way. And there was some very fast Outlanders there. Iroh was there, and he could run fast. Kragon was there, and I think Count Avery from Kaid, or he was Count Avery back then, it's Duke Avery now, from Kaid was fighting with us back then also. And so we all just kind of made it a foot race around the left flank. And when that horn blew, we took off so fast, and like there was the people not as fast, but of course kind of trailing back in around behind us. Well, we got around there so fast that we trapped the marshals in the bubble. And so they had to call a hold to get the marshals out of the fight. And that was like one of my favorite things that we've ever done, was just that, like, looking at each other and smiling and like, oh no, there's no way you're going to beat me around that corner. And that was amazing. That was absolutely amazing.
Very cool. So did you after you stepped down from your first reign, did you fight in a couple more crowns before you won your second one? Or
I tried to repeat right away. As soon as I put the crown on Olaf's head, went home from coronation that was in my own hometown, and started training for the next one. I was like all about it. Like, let's just do this. And like I really wanted to be a duke. That was my ultimate goal. Like, if this is what I have to do this, right on. Let's go again, and I'll get it all right now. And so yeah, I trained up hard for that one, and ended up losing to Leif Iverson, another one, in the final of that. And Leif had told me in my first reign, up on this place called Crimson Hill, which was like the ultimate place to hang out at Outlandish. And he looked at me and he's like, dude, if you become a duke before me, I'm gonna kick your ass. And I believed him. I was like, if I become a duke before him, he's gonna drag me to the parking lot and probably kick my ass. And I lost that final to him, and he put the best fake on me and slotted me right down the middle of my face. And I was like, oh, dude, you just kicked my ass. So I lost that. I got second in that crown tournament and won the following crown tournament. So it was just like a year and a half.
was that his ducal reign? So he beat you by?
It was.
Okay.
It was. Yep. And he kicked my ass. That I after we did court and the whole procession. Of course, Leif was a count before I was, and he walked in before me, and then he's just staring at me the whole time in court. And we walked outside, and I picked up my sword, and I'm just going to go work out, find myself a telephone pole, start working out a little bit. And I started doing my stuff, and maybe showing a little more than I should have in my workout. Right? I'm doing flat snaps, I'm throwing the deep wraps, I'm throwing all everything that I can, and like just trying to warm up my arm. And I look over, and Leif's sitting there like this, watching my whole warm up. And I was like, cool, right on. Flat snap, flat snap, flat snap. That's it. That's all you get to see from that. And I turned around, and he was doing push-ups with his helmet on. And I probably missed the first three, but I counted 47, and I was like, shit, here we go. And Sure enough, he schooled me. He schooled me in that crown, and it was meant to be. Absolutely meant to be that he won that crown.
Pretty cool though that you got to make him a duke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got to be his champion also in that reign, which was fun because we had some fun at Lily's. Leif and I did.
Very cool. So when you lost that crown to Leaf, did you go right back to training for the next one?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was at it right away. Right away.
Did your Johann is saying, did you have to hitchhike to Pinzik? So I'm going to take you back. Did you hitchhike to Pinzik?
Right on, Johnny. Love you, bro. Cool. Yeah, we had arranged for a ride from the Pittsburgh airport to the site. And Johann got there, I think maybe 4 beers before me. I'm not sure. And so we met up, and the dude that was supposed to pick us up was nowhere to be seen. And so we basically just grabbed our bags and walked out to where the cars were driving by. And I took the King of the Outlands tabard out of my bag and threw it over a speed limit sign. And we stood there like this. And Timothy of Arendelle picked us up. He was the King of Caid at the time. He picked us up in a car that was full of people already. And we pretty much like a clown car rolled into Pinzik like that.
Wow. Wow.
That's a good one. Thanks for that one, Johann.
Wow. The one time I went to Pinzik, I got left at the airport too. I think it left a bad taste in my mouth. I never went back, but you were much more ingenious than I was. I did not try to hitchhike with all my armor.
I think, yeah, we were probably just lucky to have the King's Tabard with us at that point, because anybody else is like, I don't know who that dude is. Who knows?
For when you won your second crown, did you fight for the same lady?
Yes. Yeah. I promised her that we'd do the whole deal together. She wanted them strawberry leaves too.
Very cool. So the second reign, was it easier for you? Did you do anything? Like, did you have any plans?
Yeah, there was some things that probably people say sucked that I did in my second reign. So Estrella War being one of them. And that was probably the biggest mistake that I made in probably both reigns. We had been talking about the Outlands kind of becoming a principal in the war and how we were going to split that up. And there was conversations in Leaf's reign before me that, well, maybe this year it's Caid versus Aitenvelt, and then we count up the sides and split and even the sides, and then next year that's going to rotate around and somebody else is going to do it, and we kind of like, I don't know, Leaf. And he's like, dude, if we do it on good faith, then we could take the first step and be the heroes, or it's going to suck. And it ended up sucking, because it ended up like taking way too much time to count out numbers on the field like that at Estrella War. And it just ended up kind of being a dumb idea, and I was really sorry about it after the first day. And then the second day, when we counted up our fighters, we lost 4 the second day, and the other sides lost hundreds. It seemed like they lost, so like there was a crazy difference in how many Outlanders showed up for day 2 and how many of everybody else showed up for day 2. And I think that at that point, we all just wanted to fight. And it was silly. And that was probably like the biggest sucky thing about the second reign. And then also at that point, the board of directors was acting up and doing you have to be a member to even hang out at practice or participate at all. And we all hated it, because how do we get new people? We'll never get new people if they can't just come hang out when they run across us at the city park. And basically, like, that was before like any kind of social media, just like what, 93, 94. It was conference calls, which was the biggest pain in the ass, trying to get, like, I think it was 13 kingdoms back then, and trying to get the majority of us in there for a conference call. And then basically, the collective monarchs of the known world decided they were going to just grab the fort by the sack and tell them you're fired. And then it all went away. Just as quick as it came, it all went away. And that's so like we had to deal with a bunch of that. And it was also a winter rain. And that's so much traveling, especially from the southernmost part of the kingdom up into the snow. We're like, well, I hate snow. And there was lots of snow.
So Casca's asking me to ask you about your view on crossing the road.
Right on. Another good one, right? So there was years and years and years. I think I'm going to say my first Estrella war was 1990. Like as soon as I found the SCA, the following February, I'm going to war. Absolutely. And I went for years and years and years and years and never, like I knew who they were. I could pick Arthur out across the field. I could pick out Trelawn. I could pick out Brian Tarragon. I could pick those guys out on the field, but I couldn't pick them out at the party. You know what I mean? Like, so like years and years and years of it. And then finally, like, let's go over there and meet those dudes. And some of my favorite people that I've ever met in the SCA are people that, how many years did I miss out on that friendship because I wouldn't cross the road to go talk to those people. And once we did, the attitude on the field changed. Now you're fighting your friends. They're not just those guys, faceless guys out there that you fight every year. Now they're your friends, and you can have those friendly conversations across the line when you're dueling it out or whatever. And like that was a huge eye opener. And yeah, right on. Much love to all y'all, my Evel friends that I've like really, really like become very, very close with. And boy, if we aren't lucky, then it's hell to have Melissa and Casca here right now.
Yeah, I think that's a great analogy. I've never really heard it called crossing the road, but it makes the war way more fun, like the fighting part and the non-fighting parts. When you know who the people are, when everybody's friendly, and it's not.
Yeah. They're your friends. You can show up early and do the work with them and help them set it up. You know, that's some of the best parts of that also. It's like,
very cool. When you reigned, that didn't sort of help you cross the road? Because it seems like reigning, you get to meet a lot of people.
It did, but maybe in my second reign, that dude wasn't my favorite person. Right? Tried to hang out, and then all of a sudden, like I don't want to hang out with him. Like, you know, no offense, and hopefully nobody does the math and figures out who I'm talking about, but just didn't get along. Like in my first reign, Mark von Neumann was the king of 8 and down, and we had fun. I mean, we had some fun, and the homeboy that was after that in my second reign, I wasn't a big fan, and kind of walked out of Grand Court at that one. For real, collected my queen and just walked out. We were done.
So we kind of talked about some of the other Modu fighters while you were coming up, but Sir Valora wants to know if there was someone that you patterned your fighting style after, or did you develop your own style?
It started out like really kind of the traditional stance was kind of based off of Johann's style of fighting. Kind of a little bit off the shoulder, but not so much. And when I did my goofy foot stuff, it was all very much the close blocks that Rhett would do, like the kind of boxer style defense, because he was always just so super loaded for like either that bottom spike, because we didn't use like the long modules that are kind of popular now. I think 48 inches, and mine was probably 50, just though it was 3 feet this way and 1 foot this way. And a lot of it was Johann. And then also like there was the guys that I'd come up to Albuquerque and fight, like Duke Rothgar, Duke Rorick, Duke Jax, Count Cameron. Like they were doing such different shit. Yeah, I'm sorry. Such different.
You can say shit.
Okay. Yeah. The first time that I ever got hit with an offside body was Rothgar, and I was like, dude, what was that? Let me see that. And he showed me how he threw it, but like the way that Rorik throws it is completely different. And I've really kind of studied a lot of the way that my contemporaries were doing stuff, especially when I got to travel and go see it. Like I got to go learn some stuff and bring it home and try it and break some nuts. Right. So
were you able to hit up Guy or Tamiki during that time? I mean, it's kind of cool. Like, that was the epic fight that you saw at your first event. And
I've made boots for both of those men. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've got to hang out with both of them. I have a Guy helm. I'm one of the lucky ones. Yeah, totally. And yeah.
These helms are cool.
Those guys, yeah. Heroes. Definitely.
Somebody else said that you make great boots. Is that something that you developed through the SCA, the boot making skill?
Absolutely. Yeah. I got to be the lucky passenger or co-passenger with Sir Richard of Wolfwood from Albuquerque to Denver. And I basically watched him put together like 80% of a pair of boots in the back seat of a van. Just sewing these pieces together so fast and so accurately. And like, how much those cost, Rich? And boy, I certainly couldn't afford them in those days. And Rich, once we got back to Albuquerque from that trip, Richard gave me some patterns to try. So I got some leather, made a super crude first pair of boots, but they didn't completely suck. And I was like, okay, right on. Well, I learned from this, and I stayed after it, and I was kind of doing like the style that Richard was doing. And there was one year I think I was a Duke at this particular Outlands 8 Belt War that was up at Mormon Lake, and I was talking to the guy like the Bald Mountain boots or whatever, the guys that put duct tape on the sock and all that, and I was talking to him about like, so how do you cut that line? We're like, where do you mark those lines? And he's like, I'm not going to tell you. And he's like, I got an appointment right now. Get out of here. And pretty much told me to scram. So I rolled up to camp and I poured a big old mug full of beer and I walked over there and looked through that snow and learned how to draw those lines on that sock. And that right there changed the game for me. I was nailing like custom fit every time and just kind of started running with it.
Very cool.
I think we're at 98 right now. 98 pairs that I could prove.
Wow, that's a lot of boots. Wow. So let's go back a second. You were an unbelted Duke, right?
For 10 months. Yep.
For 10 months. Were you the first unbelted Duke in the Outlands?
Yep.
Yeah. I know you don't know any different, but did people treat you different? Because
not in the Outlands so
okay.
much, but when I rolled into somebody else, some other kingdom, wearing a black belt and a coronet, and like back in the day, Arton told me, dude, you can wear gold spurs if you're a Duke. And I was like, I'm on it, dude. I'm on it. And I was wearing gold spurs, the biggest, rowdiest Spanish rouse gold spurs. Bring, 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 bring. And they're like, who is this cat right here? Like, a lot of people didn't get it. But that's, yeah, I was all about it. I was going to throw it around for a little bit because once upon a time, Johan and I were driving down the road in El Paso, and says, there's some things you're going to get recognized for in this game, and some things you can go take. And it totally made sense to me. He's like, yeah, I should probably go. And that's a lot of the reason that I chased it down as fast as I did. It's like, why wouldn't I? Damn, I'm gonna be a Duke at 25 years old. Cool. What's next? Let's see. Yeah.
Um, was there, after you became a Duke, because that was your goal, did you have the goal of knighthood? Is knighthood something you wanted, or?
I absolutely did. And I realized about maybe 2 or 3 months after I had become a Duke that, like, it's not something that they owe you, dude. So just, be Duke serious. Right on. I totally like, okay, cool. When you want to let me in the club, cool. I'll join your club. Right on. And I'll take it. But I really kind of like, there was I'm going to honestly say that there was a little bit that I was like, come on, guys, what else do I got to do? And that's wrong, right? That's not the way you got to look at it. And so I just took a couple of steps back from what I was doing. I was like, yeah, dude, let's go play the game. You Duke serious, man. You're the red Duke of the Outlands, like.
So, because reigning before you're a knight can make your journey harder because you're under a microscope, right? When you're reigning.
Yeah, or maybe sometimes. I mean, it certainly can be all of the blame and none of the fame. If you give them a reason to say that. Like I was confident in my first reign and I was happy and I was great. And then like the second reign didn't go so great. And at that point I was like, cool, you check out and I'm a Duke forever. Right? And like,
have you fought in crowns after becoming a Duke?
A few.
Yeah.
I really never got back into the training regimen that I did before. I really didn't take the training as seriously the times that I did it before, and I did okay in some of those, and I sucked in some of them. But it's I kind of, yeah.
What is your joy of fighting? Are you a melee fighter, like a pickup fighter, a tourney fighter? What do you like the best?
That has like evolved, really. Like I really, really loved the one-on-one like tourney fighting back in the day, and now my favorite thing is like an open field battle at Estrella War or a castle battle at Estrella War. And I don't wear and tear my shoulder and my elbow as bad in those as I would doing singles. You know what I mean? Like now a lot of if I did a lot of it, my shoulder and my elbow would just be not cool for about a week. And so I don't fight so much so that I can play music.
Cool. That is cool. So you're the Red Duke. Is that because your arms are red, or?
It's my favorite color.
Okay.
And yeah, basically I got to pick third on that whole deal. And I that's kind of where the whole thing came from. Is like, I believe I was like, hey guys, let's keep going with this. I'm going to be the Red Duke. Hey, Arton, can I be the Red Duke? And oh, dude, you can be the Red Duke. Like, yeah, that's where all of that started after 1991 when we did the Black Duke versus the White Duke. Very.
I love that you guys do that in the Outlands. I think it's a great tradition.
It's a fun thing.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed watching it evolve, especially because it's like one of those things where you go push the rock down the hill, see what's going to happen.
So your wife is also a knight and a duchess, right?
Yes.
How my husband is also a knight. How is it train? Did you guys ever train together or fight together?
Fought together quite a bit. She likes to fight with a 9-foot spear, and I will absolutely not put gauntlets on because I'm a guitar player. So I've always kind of been that sort, and I love to fight shield next to my wife.
Very cool.
As far as like training in the yard, not so much. I pissed her off one time when we lived in Starkov, and then she had pretty much, it was her very first suit of armor, and I let her slip one in on my leg just to gauge how hard the shot was. And then when I told her that, she was pissed. Like, oh, don't ever let me hit you. Like, okay, now it's game on. You're gonna get my A game every time we fight, Mama.
Definitely. Did you guys meet in the SCA?
Oh no.
No.
No. Our moms worked together when we were kids. I met her when I was 10.
Oh, very cool. So did you guys come into the SCA together?
No, not so
No.
much. She was aware of it before I was, and had like she played Guard also, and that's kind of where we hooked up. We ended up like a couple of company picnics when we were little, and then we went to the same high school for a little while, and then she moved away. And then I ran across her again when I started playing Guard, and that's where we started kind of hanging out. And I'm sorry, I got lost just thinking about that whole thing. Where was I going?
I really admire your wife. So very cool woman.
Yeah, I just totally lost my whole train of thought there. I apologize.
Oh no, it's okay. That's fine. So do you have like a favorite Estrella story that
Wow.
doesn't involve a turkey?
Boy, there's a lot. I don't know which one I would call a favorite. Maybe like one of the first ones I went to. I think it was probably my first war. Turan and I got on the field a little bit late, like the horn had already blown, and we were just kind of like straggling in on what's going on. And the Black Duke was in the thick of it, and he ended up like with his foot kind of like on this dude's shield and I looked at Turan and like, dude, can you do that? And he said, you can't. And that was probably one of the cooler things. Like, I don't know, there's been a ton of great stories. I remember watching Jax bust inside a castle like by himself and run down a line of dudes and just like whack-a-mole dudes in a line like that, and they had no idea who he was or where he came from or whatever. And that's the kind of thing that ignites the entire army. You know, those kind of moments.
Definitely. Do you have squires?
I'm not sure right now. I did, but I really haven't heard from him in forever. I know he was a caretaker for a relative or whatever, and his phone number changes a lot. So maybe Esteban, if you're watching, you can tell Sophie to give me a call. Yeah, I'm real hit and miss with squires. Like either they become dukes or they just like decide they don't want to play anymore.
What do you look for when you take a squire?
It's been different a lot of times. There's been a couple that I approached because I recognized aptitude and skill, and and then there's been the ones that have hit me up. And I couldn't say that some were better than others. They were all like I enjoyed my relationship with my squires, but it never seemed like it lasted for some reason. Like maybe some of that was my problem, but
quite a few people have talked about how you traveled a lot and you taught a lot. Is teaching something that you like to do?
yeah, absolutely. If I get a couple of beers in me, I'll talk your ear off. Like especially with the new generations too, because like, geez, I've been doing this, what, 31 years now, and I've watched multiple generations grow up and become dukes for real. Like, yeah, it's great. And like, if they'll listen, I'll talk for real, like most of the time.
Very cool. Okay, well, we're almost to 10 to the hour, so I was going to shift to your sword, but is there any topic that you haven't talked about that you would like to talk about?
I don't know. I felt like I've been talking quite a bit. I hope I got it all.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So do you have your sword with you?
I got a sword. It's not
Okay.
like something that, but it's definitely built the way um I build them.
Okay.
Don't care for the plastic yet so much. This little thinner than I like normally. I usually like a much bigger stick. Um, found every the sticks rounded off. Of course, you round off the corners, wrapped in tape. There is a 4-finger trigger in there that my trigger is almost kind of offset. I don't know if you can see that in there.
Okay. Yeah.
Where does that make sense at all?
Yep.
Yeah, and I like it like that. And of course, there's a nice half gauntlet that's in there to keep that from
How long is your sword?
36.
36.
Always. And that way it matches the bottom of the Modu. The bottom of the Modu.
Oh, okay. Cool.
That back in my specification.
And does that have a thrusting tip?
It does, but I don't like them. This was a sword that I made for Estrella, and it was way too light, and so that's why it's like got no wear on it at all. It's like almost a brand new stick. Yeah, it was way too light. I like to swing some lumber. I like a little bigger sword, and it makes up for my skinny little arms.
So I think it's interesting you said you don't like a thrusting tip, because a Modu, I mean, usually there's at least 3.
Yeah, well, if I'm using that weapon style, I have one there and I have one there.
Okay.
So this I liked a lot of like those kind of Molinet type of drop it in your belly kind of shots like that, and even like to the face also, or to the head. I always felt like it bounced off.
Oh.
Like that hit and bounced off, where if it was just the end of the stick, boy, that's gonna smart, it's gonna leave a pretty mark on you. And yeah, I never was a big fan of thrusting points, but then if I'm fighting with a shield, it's kind of cool to have that Estrella, and just you get that again, that
It's good for keeping people off you, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you like the weight in your hand? Because you use a heavier basket hilt, right?
Yeah, I tried the plastic ones, and then I tried them again. Like I've given them a couple of tries, and there was one instance where I felt like it may have caved in and smashed my thumb. And again, like with my hands, I don't take any chances. And as soon as that happened, I was like, they're gone, and I gave them away. I think I've got one more if somebody wants one.
Okay. Yeah, when you use your hands for your living, and that's the most important thing, keeping them safe.
Yeah, well, just my other hobby, but it's important.
Okay, you ready for the final 10 then?
Sure.
All right. What event have you never gone to that you would like to go to?
Go for it.
Gulf Wars?
Yeah.
Me too. I want to go to that one too. Looks super fun. If you could fight anyone in the world, who would it be?
Bob Barker.
Bob Barker?
Yeah. Beat that Bob Barker. No, just kidding.
Like, I want an explanation for that one.
I've recently seen Happy Gilmore, and that's like the first thing.
Oh, okay.
Into my head. I don't know. I would love to fight Khalid, a former squire of mine. I would love to see him again.
Good answer. That's a good answer. Who are your favorite people to watch fight?
Ooh, there's a bunch. I'm just gonna let's just square that down to the top 25 in the Outlands prize tournament every
Okay.
March. that's where you really really start to see the cream of the crop there. And it's like it's too many guys to name. They're like in this, especially now, these guys are on the cutting edge of what's going on with this sport now, for real.
I have to tell you that is my favorite part of Estrella is Thursday at the Outlands prize tourney. The best
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The caliber of the fighting there is probably better than anywhere you'll ever see.
Yeah, it's
maybe the adult swims that the big kids are having or whatever, but
yeah,
Yeah.
but it's not a tourney format like the tourney format, and just all the really good people are in it, and it's my favorite. What is your favorite tournament format?
best 2 out of 3 double win. We got room for error.
Do you have a mentor in the SCA, and if so, who is it?
Right now, I don't believe that I do.
Okay. Cool.
But I have to find some badass woodworker. Anybody got cool woodworking tools? Hit me up. I need a new mentor.
Is that your new interest?
Yeah, I want to build guitars so bad, and it's just acquiring the tools to do it.
I'm sure
pretty much
somebody
my next thing,
watching.
like, gonna give up that leather work and pass on that craft.
Yeah, I'm sure somebody watching could hook you up with a good woodworker.
Yeah, just need access to some specialty tools. That would be awesome. Yeah, chime in on that if y'all want.
Yeah, hook them up. If you had to recommend one event in the Outlands for someone out of Kingdom to go to, what would it be?
God, I wish we still had Lonely Mountain. That would be the one, because that one was amazing back in the days. I don't know. I'm maybe partial to the South, but I would say the Grand Outlandish on Memorial Weekend, because it's amazing and it's been around forever. It's history. There's
Cool.
tons of Outlands history today.
Cool. What is your favorite medieval-esque or period movie?
Excalibur.
It's a good one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good one. If you could change one thing about the SCA, what would it be?
I don't know. I'm probably so out of touch that I couldn't give you an informed answer.
Okay, that's cool.
Really, yeah, really, like that's a tough one.
Okay. Can I ask you a different question then?
Sure.
If you could have any helmet in the world, regardless of cost, what kind would it be?
Well, I've got a guy helmet and I've got a not work helmet. I think at this point I would have to not even specify a builder that would build it for me, but maybe one that would build it with me.
Oh, that would be cool.
Like the house that I'm sitting in right now, it's probably the exact place that I would do that if I was inclined to like make my dream helmet. I would do it right here, and I would absolutely do that.
I think you're 100% on that. Casca is amazing. Very cool. What is your favorite Outlands Kingdom tradition?
Colored dukes.
Colored dukes, yes.
Colored dukes.
And then last question, what do you think is the most important trait to become a successful fighter?
All the practice. Practice as much as you can and fight as much as you can, as much as your body will allow you to, with recovery time and stuff like that. Warm up before you fight. And like there might be some young people that are listening to me right now in their early 20s that are saying, oh, that old dude's full of shit. Nope. Warm up, practice, and fight as much as you can.
Your body will thank you for it later.
When you're 51 years old, trying to explain to your shoulder why you just did 10 flat snaps on the bell, like so it's going to change things for you if you do it right.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Your Grace. Thank you for working with your work schedule and my schedule and getting this done and talking to me. I really appreciate it. And it's such a unique perspective being an unbelted Duke. I think I've talked, like we were talking before we went live, and I think you're like my 95th Duke. And I think maybe there's been 2 or 3 of you that I've talked to that have been unbelted. Yeah. So super unique story, super unique experience. And I appreciate you sharing it.
Right on. Well, thanks for having me again. I had a great time.
All right. Thank you everybody for joining us. Wednesday's up in the air for my sister and I. We might be doing Wednesday, we might not. And then next week, I am talking to Duke Fabian from the West, who is awesome and a great armorer, and that should be super fun. So hopefully I'll see you then. See you later. Bye-bye.